Hi everyone, and welcome to Squirrel Pie Productions, my podcast about knitting, spinning, and sewing. My name is Tommi, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Dynamite Trujillo. Welcome to episode 61 of my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to any new viewers, and a big welcome back to any returning viewers. Today is a really beautiful sunny Thursday in July here on the Northern California coast where I'm coming to you from. We have a Ravelry group for this podcast that you should totally go check out and join if you're interested. There's a link down below. It's where you'll find the show notes for this episode and all previous episodes. So check that out if you haven't yet. I would love it if you did. We don't have any admin stuff again this week, so I am going to get right into what I have been working on. I do have a finished object to share with you guys. I've got one finished object, and it's a pair of teeny tiny baby socks. So this is them. These are the Rose City Rollers Littles, and this is a baby sock pattern by Mara Catherine Bryner, and I love them. They're awesome. They come in, it's a free pattern. It comes in several different sizes. I believe I did the newborn size, and they're super easy. They're just a top-down sock with no ribbing for the cuff, so it has just this rolled top, heel flap and gusset, and a plain wedge toe. And I used stranded dye works in the Paradise base, which is the merino cashmere nylon base, so they're super soft. And this is the Reef Dive colorway, and this was some leftover yarn from a pair of socks that I knit for myself. So, Rose City Rollers, Littles, and I really like how they came out. These are being knit for my baby who is due to be born in about 2.5 weeks. So, this is only the second pair of baby socks that I have knit for her, but there will be more in our future. I'm positive of it. These took me a little while just because I got kind of bored, so I put them down for a few weeks, but super quick to make. I think the second sock took me like one sitting to do. I got it done super fast. And that's my finished object. I do have quite a bit of works in progress for these past couple weeks. And I'm really excited about all of them, including one new cast on that I'm just super into. So this new cast on is living in a new bag that I have. So this is a bag that I did a trade for some stash yarn. And my friend Amy made this bag and sent it to me, and I sent her some yarn in return. And it's super beautiful. She called it a storage pod. I'm using it as a project bag. So it's quilted and it's got these feathers on it, and it just sits like this with your stuff inside like that. I love it. Amy used to have a podcast called Knitting in Circles with her husband, and they haven't recorded in a really long time, but their podcast was awesome. If you're looking for something to watch and are okay with going back and watching like old episodes of podcasts, I highly recommend checking them out. They were a really good podcast. I super miss their podcast. But anyway, I was lucky enough to get one of her bags that she's been making. She doesn't sell them, I don't think, but so I feel super lucky. And living in here is my new sock cast on, which is this sweet baby. So these are the Waiting for Henry socks. And this is a pattern by Tabitha Gandee, right? Yeah, Tabitha Gandee. She is Tabby of the Hey Sister podcast. And she wrote this really awesome colorwork sock pattern when she was waiting for her son Henry to be born, which was a little while ago. I don't know, maybe a couple months ago. And I have wanted to knit these socks ever since the pattern was published. And I thought it was pretty funny that now that my baby is so close to being due, I cast them on. So it's a really awesome colorwork sock. It's top down, and it's got a stripe of this contrasting color and then these arrows of this other contrasting color and these little crosses too. And then The rest of the sock after the color work is just a ribbing. I have gotten past the heel. I've done my gusset. I did a heel flapping gusset. The pattern calls for something else. I think maybe an afterthought heel, but I love the heel flapping gusset, so that's what I did. And it's a slip stitch heel flapping gusset. And now I am just down to knitting in the round for the foot. This color work was a lot of fun to do. If you can see, my gauge definitely changed from these arrows to these arrows. These ones are a lot looser, so they're a lot bigger. And that just happens with me sometimes. I'm not the most experienced color work knitter, so I don't do it that frequently, I guess is the way to put it. So every time I do color work, my gauge ends up changing throughout the project, either from one mitt to the next mitt or from one section to the next section. I usually find a balance, but usually the very first part of my color work in a project is a little tighter than the rest of it, but it's fine. I've tried it on, it fits fine. You can't tell when I'm wearing it, and it doesn't necessarily make it too tight to fit or anything. It fits really great. And I am making the smallest size of these, and I am knitting them on my size 1s, highs, and I am using Moonstone Dyeworks yarn. So Moonstone Dyeworks is my hand-dyed yarn company. The main color is Waxing, and this is on my Stellina sock base. For the contrast colors, I've got these two minis. And this one here is called Chiffon, and this was from Moonstone Dyeworks' 1-year birthday mini skein set. And then this one, this one is also on Stellina sock. I really, really like this colorway. It's a cream. It's a really deep, like vanilla cream with really vague pinks and kind of seafoam greens in it. I love it. This one is Lover's Rock, which is a colorway I have not dyed in a very long time. It's one of my very early colorways. And this is on my old merino base, which is just 100% superwash merino fingering weight. I haven't carried this base in a long time, but I have this left over from, I think this was part of my Exploration Station shawl. So these are my 3 colors, and they're all really subtle. The color difference isn't that striking, but I really like that a lot. I like a really subtle color work sometimes. And these are going along really, really fast. I only started these, I want to say last weekend maybe, and it's Thursday now, so I'm already on the foot of my sock and they are flying by. I really, really like them. Tabby has written a couple of sock patterns that I really want to knit, and I'm really, really happy I cast this one on because I love it. So this is the first sock, and I am having a lot of fun with it. I highly recommend that pattern. It's really, really good. That's really, really fun. And I really like my subtle colors. So that is my new cast on. My next work in progress is another sock. These are my spousal socks version 2. And that means that I'm knitting them for my husband. And they are my Regia socks. So the yarn that I'm using for these is Regia Perfect. I don't know the colorway, unfortunately. I looked on the ball band to try to find the colorway, but unfortunately I cut off either end because they were kind of fraying, and I think the colorway number might have been on those. So, oh well. But that's what it's gonna look like. It's got these kind of autumnal colors, stripes on the cuff, and then the foot is just a navy blue. It's really dark navy. So this is where I'm at with those. I am doing another top-down sock, which is what the yarn calls for. So the yarn, the Perfect line, has in one single ball enough of this repeat and enough of this navy to do 2 socks, and you can make them exactly match. So I am doing a top down like it instructs you to, and I cast on 72 stitches for my husband's big giant feet. 2x2 ribbing. That's actually another alteration other than the heel that I made to the Waiting for Henry socks, is that she calls for a 1x1 twisted rib for the cuff, and I did a regular 2x2 rib, regular for me, because that's what I prefer, so. So I did 2x2 ribbing for the cuff. It went straight into the stripes, which I really like. They're very kind of autumnal 70s stripe colors. I love them. And then I did a heel flap and gusset, of course. Slip stitch, heel flap, and gusset. And I'm onto the foot, and I'm pretty much that far along on the foot. And I still have to try these on. I've tried them on him and I know they fit, but now I have to try them on for foot length. I don't typically measure with socks in terms of inches or centimeters. I usually just go by trying them on. So I have to make him sit down, put them on, and then I'll see how much more I have to knit. And with socks, the way that I do my toes, which is kind of like a hat decrease where there's several different decreases all the way around, and then I'll Kitchener at the end. I generally start my toe, my kind of method for figuring out where I start my toe is when I get to the end of the pinky toe on the foot. So I'll knit all the way over the pinky toe, and then once I'm at the end of the pinky toe, or is it the base of the pinky toe? The end of the pinky toe. No, the base. It's the base of the pinky toe. Okay, so once I get to the base of the pinky toe, then I'll start my toe. That makes sense? Hopefully I have that right. I've done it like, what, a million times? Anyway, these are being knit also on size 1 on my Chiaogu mini twist interchangeables, which are my faves. So this is the first one. I love it so far. Here's the ball of yarn that I'm using. So far on the outside of the ball you can just see the navy, and then this yellow thread is, I guess, just the end of the ball, but somewhere in the middle here there's more yellow thread, and when you get to that point you know you're at the starting point for the second sock, which is how it works. So I'm having a lot of fun with these two. These are both just plain ass stockinette. No, this one is. That other one isn't. But this one is, and I love it. I love plain stockinette. Both of these are being knit for a knit-along. There is the, what are they calling it? Summer of Sock Yarn Cowl, which is being hosted by the Knitolong podcast, who is Ashley and Christy, and I really like their podcast. If you haven't checked that one out yet, you definitely should. Again, that's the Knit-along podcast, and they're having a knit-along for the summer for any yarn. I think it's like sport weight or lighter. So both of my socks qualify for that. And I kind of thought of this yesterday, and I wanted to let you guys know, since we're talking about socks, I remembered how I learned how to knit socks, and I thought I would let you guys know about it in case any of you haven't knit socks yet, are wanting to learn how to knit socks but are hesitant to like dive into a full project. I thought I really enjoyed this first like practice sock that I did, and it was super helpful for me in learning how to knit socks. So what I did when I first learned how to knit socks, which was, I don't even know, it was a pretty long time ago, is there is an article on Knitty.com. So Knitty.com is a free online publication that gets put out quarterly, and they put out free patterns and articles. And this one year they had an article with some like practice socks. It was pretty much learn how to knit socks. It's a pretty brief article, but it's really, the techniques that it explains in the articles are really good. So pretty much the pattern in the article is called Kate's Training Sock, and it's published on Knitty, and I will link to it in the show notes. But the idea behind it is that she walks you through step by step in description form all of the basics, all of the basic techniques used in knitting a sock. So pretty much casting on, doing ribbing, knitting the leg, doing a heel flap and gusset. That's what it introduces a sock with, is a heel flap and gusset, and then a toe. And it doesn't have you knit a full sock. It pretty much has you knit a practice sock or a training sock. So when I did it, I cast on like a tiny number of stitches, and I just did all the techniques as she tells you how to do them. And I ended up with like a really wonky tiny sock. It like, I don't even think it like would have fit a baby, just because the fit wasn't right, because I didn't even knit any of the foot. I went from heel to toe like right away, just to practice the techniques, just to get them down. And that way, when I actually did my first sock for real, I had experience. I had experience doing a heel flap and gusset, heel turn. I had experience doing a toe. And it was really, really helpful to me, because I didn't have to dedicate myself to a full first sock and like stress out over whether or not it's going to fit, because I know it wasn't going to fit anybody because it was just a practice sock, or like, am I wasting yarn, or am I getting into this big long project that's going to take me forever and I don't even know what I'm doing. So I loved it, and I thought I'd tell you guys about it in case any of you have not knit socks yet and kind of want that just little like tiny practice sock to just pretty much do all of the techniques in miniature form before you dive into a full sock. And then, so that kind of gets you going with the techniques, but it doesn't get you going with fit. And then for me, after that, when I started knitting real socks, for me, that's when I started experimenting with sizing and fit, which is a whole separate beast. I feel like once you have the techniques down, then you can start getting into fit. And just, for me, it took knitting socks. It took experience. It took knitting socks over and over again to find my perfect fit. And for me, I did really find it helpful to kind of start with standards for size and fit, even though everybody's gauge is different. Everybody's stitch count for their foot size is going to vary pretty much based on your gauge. What I did is I started by researching, and just based on what I had read, I started with like a US size 1.5 needle and a 54 stitch count sock. And then from there, I tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it until, for me personally, I ended up landing on size 1 US needle, 56 stitch count, which for me these days works perfectly for my foot. And I can do it over and over again, and it's pretty much always really great. But it took a lot of experimenting. It took a lot of experimenting with needle size, with stitch count, with lengths, you know? So that's kind of the next step after you get the techniques down, is getting the fit down. And it's a fun process, but you will probably, if you're starting out, knit socks and get yourself into a whole project where at the end they might not fit that great. And I still have my first full pair of socks that I knit for myself that are too small, but I still have them. You know, sometimes I'll squeeze them on. No, that's not true. I don't ever wear them anymore. I used to sometimes squeeze them on though when I only had like a few pairs of socks. But anyway, I hope that was helpful to somebody. Check out that Knitty article. It is really, really cool. I just always thought it was a really neat idea, and it always stuck with me. I don't have that little practice sock anymore. I threw it away, but it was a nice intro to socks for me. So I thought I'd let you know. Anyway, moving on to my next work in progress. I am still working on my own shawl. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and it is so big I can't even zip up my project bag anymore. It's huge. I've been working on this pretty nonstop. This has kind of been my main project. So I am still in the main body part of this thing. And here's what I have so far. So this is a giant rectangular wrap. It is giant. It's knit using worsted to Aran weight yarn, and you start off with these texture panels with your contrast colors. You get to a colorwork section, and then the whole body in the middle is this textured section, which the pattern calls for just one color, but since I did not have enough of any one color, I am using different colors and striping them. And the colors that I'm using are, so for the contrast colors, first one I've got is this gorgeous cake. And this is Studio Donegal's Soft Donegal, which is an Irish yarn company. And this is wool and tweed. And it's a really, really pretty lavender with teal and darker pinkish red spots for the tweed. Now the colorway is, I believe, H060. I think that's the colorway name. It's super soft, it's super lofty and bouncy, and I love it. This is like seriously really, really soft. I picked this skein up at Stitches West several years ago, and it sat in my stash for a long time, and I'm really happy I'm using it. So that one is this here. And then this teal and green are these two, which are Harrisville Designs Highland Worsted. This is the grass colorway. And this is the wood smoke colorway. And these are both also worsted weight tweed yarns. And the teal has flecks of kind of a grass green for the tweed. And then, well, actually, maybe, no, they're not really tweedy. This is not tweed. I don't know what I'm talking about. They just kind of have variations in color. So this one does have flecks of like grass green, and then this one has flecks of teal, and they go really, really nicely together. And this is a woolen spun yarn, and I love it. And for my neutral colors, which the pattern only calls for 1, but I'm using 4 because that's what I have. I have got these +1 that I have run out of. So this one is some mill spun yarn that I received in a swap a long time ago, and it's really gorgeous. It's natural undyed Corriedale, and it's a worsted weight. It's really soft and beautiful. This is some more Harrisville Designs Highland Worsted, and this is in the suede colorway. I'm almost out of this one. I did run out of this lighter color. This lighter color here, which was the Silver Mist colorway. This one here, this darker one, is suede. And if you can see here, this was the Corriedale and the suede being striped. This is the suede and the Silver Mist being striped. And now, since I ran out of the Silver Mist, I have switched it out for this yarn. This is really soft, really beautiful yarn that I've had in my scrap stash for a long time. I made a cowl out of this yarn years ago, and I love it. But this is Swan's Island Natural Colors Worsted in the Oyster colorway. It is really freaking soft. I love it. This is 100% wool, I think. Let me double check on that before I tell you lies. No, I'm wrong. I was lying. It's 85% organic merino wool and 15% alpaca. And there's the tag for that. And it's really, really nice and soft. So I have begun striping this in, replacing it for the Silver Mist. Now that this is almost gone, I'm going to reintroduce the Corriedale and end on striping these 2 colors. So it's a little wonky, it's a little all over the place, but I'm fine with that. That's kind of my thing, I think. Wonky and all over the place. So I am pretty much almost done with the textured body. If you can see here, I've started putting in buttonholes, which is something the pattern calls for. I've got 2 so far. I think I'm going to have 4 buttonholes total. And those are incorporated into the design, and you'll kind of see that at the end. The whole thing is a big rectangle. It's got buttonholes at one end, buttons somewhere else on it, I'm not sure where yet. And it lets you wear it a whole bunch of different ways. So I'm really excited about it. And then after I'm done with the textured section, I'll be going pretty much back into the colored textured sections, only reversed. So I'll start off with the color work and then go back into these guys. And I really love it. This is a big fat project. It's on pretty heavyweight yarn. I'm using a size 10.5 needle, which is super rare for me. I don't usually knit in this big a gauge with this big a needle. These are my Loca needles, which I am loving right now. And I love it. It's summer and I'm knitting on this giant worsted weight giant shawl, and that's totally okay. I don't care about that. It's not like deathly hot here like it is a lot of other places in the country and in the world, so I feel pretty lucky. It's warm, it's nice, but it's not like, you know, it's not I'm dying kind of hot, so. But that is pretty much that project. I'm really happy now that I've started incorporating this yarn. This is the Swan's Island. It's so soft and nice to work with. I really like Swan's Island yarn. I've worked with their yarn a couple times in the past and it's always really nice. So that is kind of trying to live in a Fat Squirrel project bag, even though it's way too big. Okay, so moving on to my next project. It is another seasonally inappropriate project. It is a bulky weight sweater because I want to. So I am working on the Ambrosia cardigan, which is a Gudrun Johnston pattern. And it's a bulky weight cardigan with a hood and a cabled yoke, and it's gorgeous and I love it, and it's going by super fast. I have got the body done, and it's being knit in this really beautiful gray bulky yarn by Brooklyn Tweed, and this is Brooklyn Tweed Quarry, which is American Targhee and Columbia wool. It's in the granite colorway, and I'm really enjoying it. It's very soft, it's very lofty, and it's a 3-ply bulky weight yarn, but the plies and the singles are all really loosely spun, so it almost acts like an unspun yarn, almost, but I love it, I really do. Here's what it looks like in the cake. I started out with 5 skeins. I have 2 that I have not broken into yet, and I've got that cake plus this cake that I'm working from. So here's the body. I've got it right now on holders. The whole thing is a bottom-up cardigan. You start with a garter hem, and then it's all just stockinette. There is waist shaping, and once you get to a certain point, you put it on hold. I like to hold stuff like this right on the cables with these freaking super handy cable stoppers that a lot of interchangeable sets come with, and that way when I start knitting on it again, I can just put the needles right back on it and do it. And then after you knit the body, you knit the sleeves. I have got 1 sleeve done super fast because it's bulky weight yarn. And it's the same thing. It's got a garter cuff and then just stockinette with some increases, and I've got these on the same cable holders. This took like 5 minutes to knit. So I've got the second sleeve on right now, and that's how far I've gotten. I have got my super beautiful Lost and Fond Progress Keeper, which is an enamel heart, and I love it. These are being knit on a size 11 Licca needle, super giant. It is a little awkward doing all this knitting on really giant needles on really fat yarn, loose gauge, because I'm just not used to it. It's not really my standard. It's not, I don't do it that often, and all of a sudden I'm doing 2 projects at the same time on really big needles, and it can be a little awkward. Sometimes I feel like my arms are getting more of a workout, like I'm knitting and I'm going like this, because everything is just like so big. But it's like seriously going by super quick. So this is the cake that I'm working from for the sleeve, and I really do enjoy working with these needles. They're big and fat and wood, which I feel like works really well for this yarn, but they're really smooth. They're really hard and smooth, which I like a lot. So I'm magic looping my sleeves. I have always wanted to kind of try the like 9-10 inch circulars for sleeves, but I'm a little hesitant to buy some because my sleeves, I always do like this. This is it's like the 30, let's see. I'm doing like the smallest adult size. I almost did like the largest kid size because that's the kind of thing that I do. I'm doing a 32 inch bust, which is the third smallest size for this cardigan because you can do it in a kid size in this pattern. And so I always tend to do like the smallest size of cardigan, which means my sleeves are usually pretty skinny. I have pretty skinny, not very strong arms. But so I'm always kind of worried that my sleeves would be too small for a 9 or 10 inch circular needle. I don't know. But I am interested to try that. But for now, magic loop is what I'm doing, which it doesn't bother me. I don't dislike knitting sleeves, especially when they're just on their own like this and not attached to the actual sweater. But this thing is coming along really nice and quick. It's really fun to work with. I really, really like this yarn. And the pattern is super simple and easy to follow, and I really like it. So that is my Ambrosia sweater. And I think it's great. I can't wait till it's done. I will probably wear it in the summertime because I am that person who wears woolens in the summertime. I don't live in a very hot climate. I live in coastal, far northern California, where the temperature is pretty moderate. We do get seasons, but even in the summertime, early mornings are very foggy and can be pretty cold, so. Okay, that's it for my kind of active knitting. Oh no, it's not. I have one more thing. I kind of forgot about it though because I haven't worked on it in a couple weeks. Maybe since last weekend, I don't know. But I have been working on my Connie's Ray of Hope, which is, I'm fixing it right now because it's all messed up. It's a crochet mandala pattern, and it's coming unraveled as I speak because I'm messing with it. Here it is so far. I have it attached to its hoop. So Connie's Ray of Hope is a crochet mandala by the Loopy Stitch, and this is a free pattern that I will link to in the show notes, of course, and I really dig it. I think it's beautiful and I cannot wait until it's done. I bought this, I think it's I forget what size hoop it is, but I'll put it in the show notes. I bought this hoop and it fits in there really nicely. I attached the beginning of the mandala into the hoop, which I've read people say like, this is a big pain to do, but just get through it because it's worth it. And it wasn't that big of a pain to do, actually, like crocheting around the hoop itself and attaching the thing to it, like wasn't that much of a pain. But what I'm finding to be super annoying is these next rows after the hoop, because I'm trying to crochet, which is like pretty fun for me. I'm not generally a crocheter. This is like one of my first crochet projects. And I've really loved it throughout this part. But crocheting, like while I've got a big hoop on my lap, is kind of off-putting. So I've done like a pretty good amount of it. I've done like 2 rows after attaching it to the hoop. But I've since kind of put it down because it is a little bit of an annoying task to like, I'm like crocheting up here because I have it in my lap, the hoop, and so I'm like, as I'm doing it. But I'm almost done. I'm super almost done with this. And then once it's done, I can hang it on the wall and it'll be awesome. And I really, really do like it. Am I showing you the front side? Yeah, this is the front side. So I used a bunch of scraps for this. This is all DK weight yarn. And mostly, there's probably 4, maybe 5 different yarns in here, and that's pretty much it. But they're all scraps. I've got this random sock yarn. There's a sock cat run by. And I've used this a little bit here and there. I've got this random DK weight yarn, which is super pretty. I've been using that as kind of one of the main colors. This is kind of the other main color. This I know is Madeline Tosh DK in the Celadon colorway, which I love. And I've been using some other colors that I've pretty much run out of. I had another Madeline Tosh in the rose colored glasses colorway, which is mostly white and has a little bit of pink and black in it. That's gone. This is Moonstone Dye Works Polworth DK in the Frostbite colorway, which was my holiday colorway from last year. So there's kind of just some random stuff in this, and it's really pretty, and I really hope to be done with it soon because I really want to hang it up, and I love it. I just am kind of overworking on crocheting around a hoop because it's kind of annoying. But seriously, I'm so close to being done. I've considered kind of just stopping and not doing the I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how long I put it down for. I am using a tulip crochet hook in a 4mm. And I love these crochet hooks. These are definitely my favorite ones I've used so far. But like I said, I'm not that experienced in crochet, but I am really, really enjoying it. Another Fat Squirrel Project bag, of course. And that concludes my current active whips and projects. So just a teeny bit on shop news. If you watched last week, you know this. I have closed Moonstone Dye Works for orders for my maternity leave. I do officially have the shop shut down, and it will reopen after I'm done with maternity leave, probably in the fall of 2018, but we're gonna wait and see. If you want to keep up to date with that, follow me on Instagram, Dynamite Trujillo, and I will let you know when the shop reopens. And you can also sign up for a newsletter that I have not started, but I plan to start with the reopening of my shop after my maternity leave. And you can do that at moonstoneDyeWorks.com, and that website is linked down below. So do that if you would like to keep up to date on when the shop's going to reopen. I am really excited about being on maternity leave now. I'm officially on maternity leave too with my day job. Last week was my last week of work, so this week has been amazing. But anyway, I am about 2.5 weeks away from my due date, and I am not sure if I will be able to record another podcast before then. We're gonna see how it goes. I don't know. Assuming though that I won't be recording another podcast before I have my baby, and I will be taking a pretty long break from podcasting until I'm ready to come back. I thought it might be kind of fun for my favorites to go through and show you all of my not current whips or my UFOs, because I think it would be pretty cool if I got back to all of them. And who knows, maybe by the time I podcast again, some of these will be done or be worked on a little bit. I don't know, we'll see. So I thought I'd show you what I haven't been working on, and maybe I'll get a little bit of my mojo back for that stuff. So I will kind of start with a more recent project that definitely isn't an UFO. I've been working on it pretty consistently, except just not really this past 2 weeks, so I didn't show it in my current whips. But it is my, oh my god, it's stuck. It is my Like a Cloud cardigan, and this is something I've been working on. It's a Hohi Locotel cardigan pattern. I love it still, but I haven't really made much progress on it since the last time I showed you. So the Like a Cloud cardigan is a pattern where you hold 2 lace weight yarns held together to create like a fingering weight. This is pretty much like a light fingering weight with what I'm using, and it's a really beautiful textured cardigan pattern. So it's just a knit purl texture all the way through. That's the back. Got armholes here. And then this is the front. Now this front is going to remain exactly how it is. It's got this kind of pointed back collar, so that'll go behind my neck. And these are the front panels, and there's no finishing. So this raw edge is just how it's going to be. There's no going back and picking up stitches. I'm really excited about that. It's going to be a drop sleeve, and the yarn that I'm using for this is Madeline Tosh lace in the Gossamer colorway and Rowan Fine Lace in the Antique colorway. So I'm holding these double, well, I'm holding them together, and it's creating a really, really nice, very subtle marl, which I really love. And I still am super in love with this project. I put it down, but not for that long. I'm gonna get back to it probably really soon. And I do plan to have this back on in regular rotation. So I'm knitting this again on my Look at Needles because I'm super into them right now, on a US size 4, which is what the pattern calls for. And I love this thing so much. It's alpaca and merino wool, pretty much, is the makeup of the whole fiber content of this. And it's super soft, it's super lovely. I love how the color is turning out with those 2 color yarns. I adore it. So this isn't quite an UFO, but I haven't touched it in a little while, so we're gonna get back to that sometime pretty soon. And then I'll go with my next sweater. So I currently have 3 sweaters on the needles, which I think is a first for me. I don't think I've ever done that before. The one that I've been working the most on is that bulky weight one because it's just like going so fast. And then the Like a Cloud was my one that I cast on before that. The one that I cast on before that, though, is another Joji Locotel sweater. And this is living in my Lost and Fawn project bag, which I think the thing that makes me the saddest about not working on this project in a little while is that I'm not using this bag because I love it. So this Joji Locotel sweater pattern is called Quiet Stars, and it's a fingering weight cardigan, and I am using this yarn, which is O Wool O Wash in the Pearly Muscle colorway. And I got this yarn at Stitches West this year, 2018, and I love it. I got 3 skeins of it, and I cast on this sweater pretty straight away after coming home from Stitches West. And I haven't worked on it in a little while, and I put it down because I got so distracted by the Like a Cloud and then by the Ambrosia. But I do plan on getting back to this very soon. So this is another awesome sweater pattern by Joji Locotel. It's an open front lace cardigan with a shawl collar, and I love all those aspects. This yarn is knitting up just beautifully. I love it. This is the back. This lace is the collar. And pretty much right now, I am knitting, do I even remember what I'm doing on this? I'm doing something. The construction is a little funky just because of how it's written, which is, it's not funky in a bad way. It's just funky in a way that, like, picking it up after a while and looking at it, I'm like, wait, what is this? What's happening here? I don't exactly know. But it's a really, really simple and easy pattern to follow, and I really was enjoying it a lot. You're doing pretty much these panels of lace and texture in the same rows until you get to like a certain point. And then I'll be doing some joining of something to something else and then working down. And I believe with this pattern, you're working you know what? I don't know. I forgot. I'm not going to say anything about it because I don't remember. But it's beautiful. And I can't wait to get back to it. I love this color so, so much. And this yarn is really, really nice. It's 100% superwash merino, but it is organic merino. But it's not the standard superwash process. It's more eco-friendly, more gentle process on the wool that O Wool does in their superwash processes. So that's really nice. And it just feels fantastic. It still feels very woolly and wonderful, and I love this color. So I do look forward to getting back to this UFO sometime because I really love it and I really want the finished product. And it is really, really fun to work on. I got distracted by other pretty shiny things. And I've got these stitches all here on hold using the same kind of technique. It's on a cable with these little panda cable stoppers. And those are my highs. And these are size 4. So that's my first kind of proper UFO. But I am going to finish it. I'm not going to let myself cast on any more sweaters until all 3 of these sweaters are done. Definitely. Okay. My next one is something that I just kind of put down and I haven't worked on in a little while. This is my Hansel hat. So I cast this on to be a baby blanket for my baby. And I was using for the center panel, well, I should say this is a pattern by Gudrun Johnston, and it's a hap. And I'm using Moonstone Dye Works in the Natural Merino base, which is my organic merino non-superwash fingering weight base, undyed, just in the natural color it comes in. And then for the border, which generally you use scraps or mini skeins or different colors in striping. Instead of that, I'm using a gradient, and this is New Nava Yarns. And it's a really beautiful gradient. This is white gum wool, it's 100% wool, fingering weight, and the feel of this yarn is really, really similar to my natural merino, so they go really well together. And this gradient starts with a beige, goes into the silver gray, and then ends on this pink. And I've started the border, and so far I've only done the beige. And so it'll just on its own go into the next color, and I just have to do the border and then the edging, and then I'll be done with this. So I've gotten really far on this. I just kind of put it down. So I'd love to get back to it. It's the whole middle section here is just garter, and then you do this really neat pickup here, and it's like a, I want to call it an old shell or a feather and fan lace pattern. I'm not sure if those are correct or not, but I think that's what this is called for the border. And it's super simple. It's really easy. I don't know why I put this one down. I just did. So hopefully I'll get back to it soon. And this is living in another project bag that I miss using. This is my Ghastly's project bag with the unicorn on it. Adorable. This is being knit on a high sharp US 8. I have 2 more. These are proper UFOs. I don't know if I'm going to get back to either of them. This one is living in the very first project bag that I ever made, and this is Cats with Antlers. These are my Eula Book mitts. This is a really gorgeous fingerless knit pattern by Ellie of Skandir, and I cast these on pretty soon after she released the pattern because I loved them so much. They're a really cool, oh no, it's not fingerless mitts, they're mittens, right? I don't remember. They're mittens, they're totally mittens. They're mittens. And I really, really loved them, so I cast them on. This is how far I got. It's just a cup, and it's really beautiful. And the pattern's amazing, but the yarn. So this is the yarn I'm using, and it is gorgeous and wonderful and beautiful, and I love the way it looks. This is Madeline Tosh Mill White, which is 80% merino, 20% kid mohair. I cannot handle the mohair. I don't like have an allergy or anything like that. It's just so, it has so many flyaways that it bothers me and I get angry at it and I can't work on it. So it's really tragic because this yarn is freaking gorgeous This pattern is freaking gorgeous and I love it and I wish I could work on it, but I just get upset every time I try to work on this because like even holding it now, it's just like, I don't know. I don't think me and mohair are a great match. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this. It is such a cool pattern and it's such pretty yarn. But it's going to sit in its project bag for a while longer. Maybe next winter when it's the season of mittens with reindeers on them. Maybe I'll have toughened up and I'll get back to it. I don't know. But for now, this is a definite bona fide UFO that is going to continue sitting there until I'm ready to make a decision on what to do. And that is a little tragic, but it happens. Oh well. Now, for my last UFO, I don't know if I'm going to get back to this one either. This is living in my super cool Nightmare Before Christmas project bag that a lovely, wonderful, and amazingly talented viewer made for me. This is my 3-color cashmere cowl. It's another pattern by Locotel, and I got kind of far on it. That's what I have so far. This is being knit, or was being knit when it was being knit, out of Knit Picks Gloss Fingering. This is the Guava colorway. I think this is Fawn, and this is Bark, or something like that. What do we got? Doe, Guava, and Timber. Dark brown's Timber. I don't love this yarn. I don't know. It's okay. I just don't love it. It's merino wool and silk, I believe. Yeah, 70% merino, 30% silk. And I like silk okay, but I'm like super picky about it. Some silk yarns just don't do it for me, and some really do. This one just doesn't feel, I don't know. I'm pretty picky, I think. And this Knit Picks wool and silk yarn just isn't really my thing. I don't really enjoy working with it that much. The pattern, it's boring in a way that I like, where it's just like round and round knitting with like super minor pieces of interest. But I kind of just don't care about it that much. For a little while, I thought it was going to be a birthday gift for a coworker, and then I kind of gave up on that idea, and I just never cared about it enough to work on it, so I haven't. So I don't know what's going to happen with this either. I could definitely finish it. I don't know if I'm going to wear it, because I'm not crazy about the yarn, and I kind of am to the point where I'm only going to wear stuff in yarns that I'm crazy about. So I don't know. I may finish it at some point and give it away as a gift still. We'll see. And that is that. 3-color cashmere cowl. It's a great pattern. It's fun to work on because it's so simple. But I don't know. Like I said, I kind of just don't care about it that much. So I haven't worked on it in a really long time. And that is another project that's going to just kind of sit there, and we'll see how I feel about it later. I don't know. I might decide to get back to it. I might not. We'll have to wait and see. So that is it. Those are all, it's every single project that I have on the needles right now. And that felt pretty good to just get it all out there. Most of it I still am really in love with. There's just a couple things that I don't care about. I'm totally okay with just like letting them sit there and chill until the time is right to make a decision. But I really love all my projects right now. I can't believe I have 3 sweaters on the needles and only 1 shawl, and it's not like a fingering weight shawl. Super weird. But that is pretty much it. Those are my favorites, are all my UFOs. And I think I will pretty much leave you there. This might be the last episode for quite a while, but it might not. I might be back next week or in a couple weeks. Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see what happens and how I feel. And you never know. Maybe since I'm not working right now, I'll have a whole nother episode's worth of stuff in a week and I'll be good to go. But until I see you next time, whenever that may be, I hope you guys are having a fantastic summer and having a lot of fun and doing a lot of knitting. And happy 4th of July, by the way, to the Americans out there who celebrated the 4th of July yesterday. I had a pretty good 4th of July. 4th of July is not my favorite holiday. I'm not a firecracker or firework person. Usually me and my cat sit in my bed angry at all the fireworks that are happening outside because we're wimps. And we want to go to bed early, but we can't. But my husband Colin and I did go to a barbecue at our friend's house for the day, and that was really, really fun. And then at night we came home. He went to another barbecue, and I stayed in bed all night with my cat, being curmudgeon-y about the fireworks. Anyway. So if you enjoyed the episode and you would like to give it a thumbs up or subscribe if you haven't yet, that would be much appreciated. Join the Ravelry group if you haven't yet. If you have any questions about this week's episode and you can't find the info in the show notes, please feel free to message me. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting comments and questions and all that kind of stuff. So let me know if you have any, and I will see you next time whenever that may be. Have fun and stay awesome. Bye, guys.